Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tyler and this is Dad Built. So today we are going to talk about building a teardrop camper from scratch. So this idea originated for me when I found a cheap utility trailer off a Facebook Marketplace. It's like 4 foot wide by 9 foot long. They were only asking a couple $100 for it. I thought maybe it would be a good trailer to refurbish and flip, but once I got it and my wife saw it, we decided we were going to build a teardrop camper. So I started, and I did probably what everyone does, is I started researching. Found a bunch of sites online where you could buy the kits to build them, you could buy the templates, you could buy all this stuff. And I decided, you know what, I'm just going to build this thing from scratch. We'll just figure it out. So I looked up a lot of pictures of ones we liked, and I just decided to dive in. So this video basically is going to show you photos along the process of how I did it. I'll try to voice over and talk about some of the steps throughout the process, but I built this camper a few years back. We since have had kids and kind of outgrew it, so we did sell it, but it was super fun. I want to talk about the pros, the cons, the issues we ran into, and just all the things that you might need to know if you're thinking about building a teardrop camper for yourself. So yeah, main point of the video is just to kind of show off what I built and then help you guys. If you have any questions on your potential build or any comments, please drop them below. But let's get started and build a teardrop from scratch. Okay, so we get started. Here's the trailer I got off Facebook Marketplace for a couple $100. It had a bunch of rotten boards and just was in rough shape from that aspect. So I removed all of those, as you can see in those photos, and got it back down to this clean state. This is the part where then I could replace the floor and move forward with the project. Okay, so I started working on the floor and the sidewalls. For the floor, I put down one piece of 3/4 inch AC plywood, and then I did a 1 inch piece of pink foam board. I bought all this from Menards, and then I did another layer of AC plywood. And that first layer that I put down on the ground, on the bottom side of the trailer, I sprayed with an under laminate. I just Googled what would be best. It was like a rubber coating. That's to help from the weather. And then the insulation sandwiched between the plywood on the floor is to help with the cold coming up through the bottom of the trailer. So that was where I started. So then I moved on to working on the door and the sidewalls. I just kind of came up with an arch that I thought looked like a good radius for the top of the trailer that fit on my sheet of plywood. I did have to go up to 10-foot sheets of plywood, which are kind of more custom in order to fit the trailer. I didn't want to have a bunch of seams. So that was one unique thing about my trailer being 4x9 versus a regular 4x8. So there was that, but I got the door. I ordered that online. I just typed it in, ordered it. It shipped to me, and here I am working on that. I traced the door out before I started framing, and here's how I was going to start framing. I used 2x2 spindles. I just bought these. I didn't rip them on a table saw or anything. They came like this, 2 inch by 2 inch, and that's going across my two sidewalls to help stabilize it. I just screwed these in from the side with a 2.5 inch torque screw, like a GRK, something like that, just to hold those. I did use exterior grade, which has like a painted head. Don't know if you need to. I did. Anything water wise I wanted to avoid here. So here's showing some more framing and how I did the exhaust fan on the top. Same thing, 2x2s. I just put a little square. You want to have this fan already so you can just kind of build to it like I did here. And then you don't want to cut your door out until after you have your framing done. Make sure it's solid, and then you can just cut your door out after that. But I went ahead and installed all this framing all the way through. For spacing, I think I did like 12 inches in between each one, maybe 10 inches. I was just kind of eyeballing it. Like I said, this is custom, so I don't have exacts, but I framed all the way on all my sidewalls to start. Here's me and my dog as we're working through it. Her name is Luna, in case anyone cares to know that, but she's always working with me outside. I started working on building the back. I knew I wanted a little kitchenette area that could hold our cooler, so this is that area. And I also had to extend the foot area because I'm a lot taller and I needed room for my feet. If I laid down, you can see that box, I fit perfect. So I continued to work on that and start installing some 1/4 inch plywood that separates the back kitchenette area from the interior portion of the camper. I probably could have continued to frame. I was looking to mix it up, so I started building this, but you can see the box on the right there. That's for my feet, and then the sidewall on the left will be our little kitchenette area. That will be the side my wife sleeps on. She's much shorter than I am. So I just kind of started custom building this so that it worked out well for us. You can customize that as you want. So here's the door. I just got the door cut in, and I was starting to work on maybe a little bit of the foam on the inside and figuring all of that out as well. I took the spray can of spray foam and just sprayed any cracks I saw, and then I started insulating with the 1-inch pink foam. And then I had some of this leftover tape. It was like ductwork tape or something. I started taping the joints. I don't really know why I did that. I just had it, so I was using it. I don't know if that really did anything. But anyways, just in case you were wondering. So that shows my door cut out. I built everything, traced the door on there, and then just cut it out with a Sawzall. My dog and I sitting there enjoying it again. Once the door is in, it starts to feel like something. I also installed the window, which you can see behind me. And then I took it to the shop, and at our shop, I started working on the back. The hardest part of this entire build was the back gate. It fought me the entire time. I used plywood slats. I used 1/4-inch plywood. I used everything. I bought a piano hinge to hinge this thing. I researched it. You really got to get this perfect. It is not an easy task. So take your time on the back gate. One thing or one piece of advice I can give you is to trace your sides just with the sides of your sidewalls. Like the sides, you can see that my left hand is on there. Those pieces, hold them up to the side of your trailer and trace those so that they are perfect. And when it comes down and closes, you have a perfect fit. So the gate was a battle. I fought it a lot. I recruited some buddies to help me, but just keep working at it. And then you can see how I had the 1/4-inch overlapping at the bottom. I did that to help where it closed. I just wanted to make sure it got a good latch at the bottom as I worked through it. So I'm gonna show you more of the gate here. I just did flat pieces of plywood. I wanted to keep the gate light. I was gonna install hydraulic pistons on it, so I just didn't want a ton of weight there, but I started working on a little countertop area here and kind of closing that area off. I spent more time on this gate in this back area than I did most of the build. So just plan for that. There's a lot of good info online that you can look, but hopefully some of these photos help you here with what I did. I know that I really battled it, but we made it. We worked our way through. So moving forward, next is the window. I installed that on the inside. You can see my 2x2 framing there. It worked out great. One funny thing, continuing with a custom build, is I installed the window upside down. I had it all cocked in and set, so I decided to leave it. But the problem with that is when you open the window, it just kept falling down, so I had to come up with something custom there. So here's my wife and I enjoying inside. You can see where I spray foamed the cracks of the 1/4-inch that I wrapped the top with. So talking about wrapping the top, when I wrapped this whole thing, the exterior portion, I used 1/4-inch plywood that I actually sprayed down with my garden hose, and then I screwed it in with drywall screws to my studs all the way across. And you have to use a lot of screws, and you've got to get that plywood pretty wet to get it to take the shape that you want. I began installing cedar siding on here. I just did a tongue and groove cedar siding. I just started at the bottom and worked my way up. Pretty easy to install that. Just use a trim nailer like I have there. It's an 18 gauge brad nailer, and pin down through the tongue. Make sure you're using short nails, maybe some glue if you want. You don't want to be shooting your nails through because your sidewalls are so thin. They're not a 2x4 wall. It's a 2x2 wall, so just be cautious on your nail and screw lengths when you're doing that. I wrapped everything in Tyvek just to help. Like I said, water with these things. I was just really concerned about water. When you go to wrap this with your plywood and your Tyvek, just work it. It is difficult. It requires 2 hands. My wife helped me a lot with this, but here's a photo in our backyard as it started taking shape. The cedar siding going up was kind of neat to see. It was a fun stage. We got the vent fan on the top complete. So there we are, just hanging out at night, enjoying it. Probably just finished working on it, so threw that photo in. Moving to the next, I'm still working on the gate. Now I'm trying to put a latch in. This was super custom. I just Googled Teardrop camper back trailer latch and figured it out. You can see where I cut it out at the bottom on the top of the gate there, and just ended up kind of rigging it to work. But everyone is wondering how my camper would be powered. You can see the plug on the outside on the left side here. That plug was wired in, and actually when you run a generator, you would plug into that, and it actually runs everything within the camper. So it really wasn't that difficult. I just had an electrician buddy help me there. So Dog and I are just working on putting outlets in on the inside and kind of finishing things up. And then we moved on to the tile in the back area. We just did a little subway tile. I was not a tile professional, but made it work. My wife actually helped me with this. We just put in full tiles, cut the rest with a grinder on the edges where they were half tiles, and used just a store-bought pre-mixed mortar. So I installed the exterior lights here and started putting some wallpaper on the insides to cover the walls. Testing out the drawer I built. I just used some drawer slides underneath that countertop to put our little camper stove on in the back, so just making sure it would fit. Continuing to work on the back, I built some doors for that cabinet below, kind of making that little custom kitchenette area come to life. I don't know what I was measuring here, but just continuing to work in that back area. This back area became our favorite portion of the whole build once we were actually utilizing the camper. You can see my wife in the back getting excited. This was probably the funnest portion of the build, is working in this area, because we knew when we pulled up to a camping spot or a site, we would have this open. This is where we would cook, eat, hang out, drink, you know, all the things. So I did build some cabinet doors for the interior. Built these out of poplar and 1/4-inch plywood. Put them on the cabinet boxes on the inside where our TV and our clothes and stuff would hang. I put a little shelf on the back for spices and cups and all that. I think I took it back down as I was working on painting. My wife decided to go with this color. Then I recruited Grandpa Jim. He is a metal worker, and I needed someone who could work metal. This being wide sheets and long sheets. We had to custom order this metal from a fabricator that he knew in town. To wrap this, we wrapped the whole trailer from front all the way to the back with that sheet metal. I think it was, I can't remember what metal per se it was exactly, but it was just thin sheet metal like you would build ductwork out of or whatever, just aluminum sheet metal. So it started to come to shape after that came on. One nice thing about the metal is when you're working that plywood and it's wet and you're screwing it, you'll notice there'll be like some spots that don't seem perfect. Well, when you round that metal over the top, it really takes away from all those imperfections and makes it look smooth and nice and clean, as you can see here. Had a custom fit everything. I mean, you're cutting things, you're just measuring, you're marking the whole deal, but here it is coming together. I found a toolbox for the front on Facebook Marketplace that would house our batteries and everything else. Here's my wife's keychain. That's for the side doors. It does have a lock, which is nice when you're out camping. It's coming together again. Lights, you can see on the inside I have the cabinets and my foot area there on the left, and I put this foam mattress thing in. This is like a memory foam. It was like 4 inches thick. That was our bed. That was it. So we did install wallpaper, that mattress, foam. You can see that's my wife. She's like 5'2", 5'3", laying in there, scrolling or whatever she's doing. There's our wall covering. See on the inside, you can see those lines. That's where the plywood actually breaks. So the outside did look like that before I put the metal on. So tossed in some sheets and some blankets to test it out in the driveway to see how it was going to sleep. So there she is. She's almost complete, getting close to the maiden voyage. Trailer lights work. Everything's ready to go. We were ready to go camping. We got the little metal strap on our shelf on the back, got our coffee cups and our peach pecan whiskey, and we hit the road. So here it is at the gas station on our debut out to the campsite. We just put it on, pulled it out, and here we are set up. Everything went super smooth. It was really fun. We had a blast. So yeah, I highly encourage everyone to build one of these, especially if it's just a couple of you, as it is, 4 foot by 9 foot. There's not a ton of room, but it's a super fun thing to do. Enjoying our first peach pecan whiskey out of the back. You can see our little kitchen set up here. This is me laying inside. I am 5'11" and you can see my feet go almost to the end. So I had to build that little custom box. We made some shrimp and steaks for the first night cooking. We did add those little hooks up top and put some string lights on so that it would light up the back area. Took the doors off the Jeep and set it up with this outdoor rug. The outdoor rug was clutch because it is very difficult to change when you're inside there. So I actually changed outside. So maybe something you could think about, but all right, so here we are. We just finished going through the photos and the process that I took to build the Teardrop camper. Hopefully you were able to gather something there that helps you, but there were a few things I left out as I did do the voiceover, and this wasn't me actually building it. It was previously. So a couple of things I left out that I wanted to address. First off was on the back hatch, I used 2 pistons that were like hydraulic arms to hold that hatch open and to help, or to hold it open at the top and then to help close it. The hatch did get pretty heavy. So those were great. I just Amazoned them. Hydraulic little arms, they screwed in, they worked great. They had instructions, so that was good. And then one of the other things that I didn't discuss was at the top of the hatch where I did the piano hinge to attach it to the camper, we took it out, and when we first got our first rain, the water flowing over the top would go down in that and then straight down onto my feet, which was far from ideal. So I ended up having to reconfigure that a little bit and try to direct that water off of the top of the camper. So thankfully that day we had a tarp. I just put that on the top and we avoided that, which was great. The next biggest thing, and I can't believe I didn't talk about this earlier, was the stabilization of the camper itself. So we knew we were going to pull it behind the Jeep. When we got done, we would unhook it and want to go, check out a brewery or go fishing or go on an adventure. We wanted to leave the camper where it was set up. Well, when you unhook the hitch and you're sitting there and you're winching it up and you crank it, the camper is going to tip and go like this, right? Well, what we did was we ended up going to Harbor Freight and we got 4 different hitch posts or winches that would go on the corner, trailer hitch, whatever you want to call them, and we anchored them to all 4 corners, and they have just a little bar you pull and then they can flip up and go horizontal and ride on the side of the trailer. So I screwed 4 of those to the corners of the camper. Super helpful when you set up. Make sure you adjust that. You can level out the trailer so you're sleeping level. If you don't do that, you're going to have problems sleeping, or if you take it off of your vehicle, you're going to have a hard time getting it back on because that camper is going to go up, right? So make sure you put your levelers on the 4 corners. Harbor Freight has great little cheap ones that worked perfectly. So that was a big tip. And then I did talk about, the outdoor rug a little bit. Me being taller, it was hard to change in there. I couldn't get my shirt off. It was, a little tight. So the outdoor rug is just a nice place to kick your shoes off, change, hop up in. It can be a challenge to get through that door. The bottom of the door has a little rim that's like kind of metal. So you kind of got to be able to hop in. So if you're, getting up there in age or something, just be mindful of your door situation. You might need a step and then changing outside, or at a, if you're at a campground that has a restroom, that's fine. But changing was a thing that I did not think about, like changing my own clothes. So anyways, those are kind of some of the tips. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I know it's probably not as great as me actually building it, but I tried to do my best with the photos I had from the build. So if you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to help. I'm not a pro, but I did experience building it once and kind of just going through everything. So if you like this, hit like, hit subscribe. I sure would appreciate it. That'd be awesome. If not, just leave me a comment and let's talk about your build. I'd love to see it. So anyways, hope you guys have a great week. We'll chat later. Bye.